get to boom. They'll have those kind of like switches. And so, in fact, I think I've got one probably up here near the top. It's got a couple switches like that. That's not jazz.
Why do you have multiple out of nowhere?
There we go, this one.
He's got multiple students.
Mm-hmm. So this,
You did jazz?
yeah, there's jazz, swing, and then over here we jump over to Latin, and then we go back to swing. So I've got some charts that you can switch. So the better you know your styles, the quicker you can jump into any of those. I find that bossas are really just kind of comfortable and cozy, and they get used a lot.
I remember samba was just me working on my skate.
Yeah, the jazz band that you're playing in will likely be pretty ambitious if they call a samba, whereas, you know, bossas get called all the time because they're mellow. So you'll have like a really quick swing song, and then they'll pull into a bossa to like mellow things out.
I used to do this.
Yep. Skate is what helps you go fast. Soca? Have we talked about Soca?
I don't think so, I did.
I'm pretty sure we've at least mentioned it. You'll pick it back up right away because I think it's the easiest of the Latin patterns. That's the boom, 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 boom. Fast ones and they're slow ones. I think, yep, I mixed them up here. So, we got slower ones. Right, and then you got fast ones. That kind of thing. So, depending on the way that you're gonna go. Suggestion is make sure to review those every once in a while just to make sure that they're kind of comfortable, right? Because if we get to a chart and your Latin is really rusty, it's going to give you that much harder of a time with the chart, right? Whereas if I pull up a chart and it says a bossa on it, and you're like, oh, I know bossas. Boom. Easy peasy, right?
I already forgot what it is.
Okay. Well, you can review as many of them as you can remember, and then I'll ask you next week, and then whichever ones you forgot, I'll just reinforce a little bit week by week. Okay? Bossa's the mellow one. So, review those. Mambo, Samba, Soca, Bossa. We probably haven't worked on a Roomba. I don't think that one.
A Roomba? What's a Roomba?
Yeah. That sound familiar? Okay, probably not. So, we'll talk about it later. I don't see a lot of them in charts, so it's not necessarily an urgent thing. Is this yours? Did you leave this here? Huh.
Hold on.
It looks like it's your handwriting.
But then which one do I have?
Did I make you guys another copy?
Oh, yeah, you did. Well, I put it in there.
Oh, maybe it did get shuffled around.
I put it in there. I think it might have dropped, but that.
Either way.
Yeah, it should be right.
There you go.
But I've been practicing with a clean sheet and it's easier.
Mhm.
Probably actually that one.
Yeah, probably. Because I think I still have.
Wait, hold on.
I've still got another
Is
one
that?
over there.
Hold on. Is that Mary Did You Know?
Yeah, that's a piano
I'm-
thing that I printed out for me
I'm doing that song.
to work on that for fun.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that song in class.
Oh, nice. I'm
Singing
gonna put it up there
Christmas
so it doesn't get mixed in with all my drum stuff. I say as I put it in a big pile of drum stuff. Alright. This can also get separated. You can go with the snare solos. Alrighty. So, with that in review, last week we talked a little bit about varying patterns on your ride in order to give something some more breathing room, right? So if you were to run a solo section over and over and over again, for example, we talked about that, right? If we went from here to here and we did it 3 times in a row, would you want to play them all exactly the same? No, you'd want to play them a little bit different, right? Maybe go to the hi-hat, maybe change up your ride pattern a little bit, maybe add more or less comps, do some tom work. Potentially, depending on how good the rest of your rhythm section is, you could jump into double time, all kinds of stuff to try to make it a little more interesting. Okay? What I think I would like to do today is, how good do you feel about your 3-5-4? Do you feel pretty confident with it? That's your fill from here, but what about just straight 3-5-4? Okay. Now, are you able to move your right hand around without causing too much, I guess, wiggle room movement? Can you move your right hand around to make different melodies? That kind of thing?
Like.
So how about, here, let me just show you rather than trying to explain with words. So take your 3-5-4 and move it around with your right hand. That kind of thing. So really what I'm doing is I'm taking my right hand and I'm moving it around all over the place. The big one is if you do it on a cymbal, try to add your bass drum in. Right? So every time I barked, bass drum. Every time I hit a crash, bass drum. Every time I hit ride cymbal. Yeah? So if you get good at doing it with your bass drum too, then you can move between toms, snare, hi-hat, cymbals, ride, bell. You know, you can move it around all over the place, but the big thing is that get real comfortable with your right hand moving all over the place. Then if that starts to get boring, you can then move your left hand around too, and if you start moving everything, then, you know, you
Once
definitely...
that gets boring, what do I do?
Well, we'll be on to something different for sure by the time that gets boring. But yeah, go ahead and give that a try for a little bit. Just have fun experimenting.
Alright.
So first, try to play your 3-5-4 on the ride cymbal and see if you can get a bass drum on all of your right hand hits. Okay? So now try mixing it up a little bit. You don't have to mix it up quite as much. Some ideas. Cool stuff, right? So, what we're doing with this is when you get so comfortable with it that it's fluid and it can move around all over the place, we can start to use it as the backbone for our solos. So then what'll happen is I'll cut you loose for like this whole section and you'll take like a 16 bar solo.
Dang.
And you can use mostly 3-5-4. Every once in a while you can mix it up with some other things, but for the most part we'll use 3-5-4. Okay? So you just sat down, but go ahead and swap back with me. I'm gonna put on the recording so that you can hear sort of what that's gonna sound like. You want in on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to go deaf. Not from you, but from when he goes in.
Well, sure, but it's more about whether I grabbed the 2 splitter or the 3 splitter.
Grab my headphones.
Yep.
Shut
You are right there.
Dad's in the backpack.
Thank you, Bubba.
Which you got complimented, by the way, Bubba, when I stood up from my meeting, because I thought it was Mr. Tim showing you something. It was you.
Alright, good. Thanks.
That was your boss. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So, see how that works? So there you go. So, take time, use 3-5-4, sprinkle it in with some time. You know, you can do 2 bars of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Triplets. Yeah? So it's going to be a little bit weird at first, but lean really heavy into your 3-5-4 at first. What'll then happen is when you'll get to a certain point where you'll go, my solos feel really stale. You're like, I feel like I'm kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. Kind of like if you were to play a rock song and every 4 bars you're going. Same fill over and over and over and over again, you're gonna go, oh my goodness, I want to try something different, right? So for now, use it so that you can get through each section, and then when it starts to feel stale, then you can start to add other stuff that you like to do. Yeah? So you can start creating more space. You know, you can start creating some space. You can start doing quarter note triplets. Right? You can do stuff like that. You can just do straight triplets. You can do time, but you can do some fancy comp stuff. You know? You can mix in kind of whatever you want, but for now, the more, even if at first some of my students, their first solos sounded like this. Totally okay, because it's your first solo. Yeah?
This is my first chart.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So the big thing, number 1, what do you think is the number 1 most important thing when you're soloing?
don't just trample everybody else.
Well, no, that's your solo. That's kind of the time to trample everybody else, I suppose. That's the time that you get. That's the Zane show. You get to go nuts.
Stop
So-
pulling on the cord, please, and listen.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Think about it. Think. If you have a melody that's
Don't make it
really
be
cool,
bland.
don't what?
Don't make it be bland.
Well, okay. If you had a really good solo or a really bland solo, is the song still going to go on?
It will.
Yeah, it's going to go okay.
Which is better
So what's the only thing that's going to absolutely tank it?
if you lose where you are.
Hmm.
Don't lose your spot.
Yep. Keep track of where you are as best you can, okay? Keeping track of where you are is the most important thing. Even if you drop out for a full bar, sometimes musicians use that kind of silence to build tension. Right? I used a full bar of silence. So, even just not playing at all is fine as long as you know right where you are. Yeah? Don't just drop out halfway through your solo and not play anything. Let eight bars go by without playing anything. But, it's important that you keep track of where you are. So that's one of the things that's really nice about the 3-5-4 is that it's a 2-bar pattern, which means if you play it 3 times, that gives you 6 bars. Then for your 8th bar, we like to do what's called bringing the band back in, right? So if you're taking this big, and especially later on when your stuff starts to get really out of pocket, you're going like way out, and people can't really tell where your downbeat is anymore. It is so nice for them to hear. Because then they know, oh, he's finishing up. They get their horns up and they all get ready to play, right? So whatever it is that you decide to do, I have Jackson likes to go. That's how he likes to end his 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, bop, and he's back in. But take your last 2 measures and use that to bring the band back in, which means in an 8-bar solo, you actually only have to come up with 6. The last 2 bars are kind of like throwaway bars.
The last quarter. Solo.
Does that make sense? And so, but that would be if we were taking a big one like this, or at least,
16 bars.
big for now. You take a 16-bar solo, these 2.
Last 2 bars.
You could even, with the 8th bar here, you could do something that kind of lets the band know, hey, I'm halfway done. You do something similar to what you're going to do at the end and add a big crash on 1 or something like that. Kind of let people know, like, that's the halfway point, So you can get creative in how you communicate to your band where you are in the solo. But ultimately, that's how you're going to bring everybody back in. Okay? All right. So for now, since you like this song rather than changing to a different song with a smaller solo, right now I want to start you with only 8-bar solos because it's less to worry about. It's easier to maintain. So what we're going to do, I think, is I want you to take 2 8-bar solos. So you're going to play 6 measures, and then ba 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 boom, and then you can take a second solo, go for 6 bars, and then come out of it a second time. Yeah. So it's like you're taking 2 separate solos.
I got 12 bars of playing time, 4 bars of end time.
Make sense?
Yep.
All right.
It's math.
It is a lot of math. You're right. Simple math, but it's math.
That's no. I don't like that. Anything's math.
I don't really either, but ironically, what's 3-5-4? Just math, right?
No, it's not.
You need 12 triplets in a measure, and we're dividing up the numbers in a way that makes sense, right? So you could also do 6 and 6. You can do 4, 4, and 4. Do you remember that one I showed you a long time ago? Do you remember that one? Let me see if I can, with all the tangle here. This one? You don't remember that one? I showed it to you a while ago, and you loved it, and you were just going crazy with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start with that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then so you do it twice. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, done. Boom. Stop for a second. What is that if you break it up? Correct, they are triplets. Notice the first pattern was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second pattern was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 3. I did 3, 5, 4 and just changed it up all crazy.
We're playing jazz.
Another fancy way to do 3, 5, 4. I took, instead of having a 3 at the beginning and a 3 at the end, I just took the 3 from the beginning and put it on the end and just had 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 3.
There's gonna be a metal fill. So, the more that you do the more that you need to be careful with your math, right? Because they're triplets, Yeah.
and each cycle that you go through is 5 plus 4, right?
So 9.
So 9,
6.
9 is,
18.
plus 6.
24.
Yeah, you got to get to 24. If you're going to keep going, you know. So yeah, it's going to change up.
You can get 48.
So one of the ways that I like to mix it up is I do 5, 4, 5, 4. That's 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I do another 5 and then a 1.
5, 4.
Oh,
So like this.
I do one more 5 at the end with a snare and then the crash.
Like this.
So careful to not do the 4 on the last one. That's a tool that you can rip from me if you want. If you like it, practice that a lot at home and get really good at it, and then you can use it when you're playing jazz stuff. Granted, you start playing with other kids your age and you rip out a fill like that, oof, they're gonna have a hard time keeping track of where 1 is.
Just makes me think of Ryan.
So, but putting it in the middle of your solo somewhere, who cares? Because as long as you give them the ba 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 brrrra, then who cares how complicated it was in the middle?
Whatever I do.
Yeah, or whatever you
Actually,
do. You don't have to do Jackson's.
Yeah,
fill.
I was gonna put your headphones on because I'm gonna try something. It might be loud.
So, the big thing is you want it to, if we're going to bother with this at all, you want to make sure it's as simple as possible. You don't want to make something complicated because that defeats the purpose, right? Sure. Ba, boom, da, 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 do. something like that. Basically, what you want something that's so simple that they can't accidentally mess it up, right? Because you're gonna be playing with other kids your age, and not all of them are gonna be used to a drummer that's gonna play stuff like what you were just playing, 5s and 4s and stuff that's gonna go over the. Because that's also a pattern that's going over the bar line. You know, that's 2 measures. So, you know, if you're going over the bar line like that, they're gonna have a hard time kind of hanging on to where you are. So you want to really throw them a bone. You don't want to. You know, if someone's drowning, you want to try to throw the life raft or the floaty ring like right to them. You don't want to throw it out and make them swim to it. They're already drowning. You know what I mean? So you want to make it just foolproof. Yeah? So the simpler the better. You can rip, because then what happens is, honestly, that's even more impressive. So let's say you've got another person who isn't me, some other musician, right, is in the audience and they're listening. And during your solo, you're just shredding like a madman. And then at the end of the solo, you do something really simple. Ba 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 da boom, and you bring everybody back in. It's like, wow, not only can he shred, but he made sure not to leave the band behind. Really cool, really impressive.
I think the band would be like dropping out if I do that. They'd be like, what? Okay.
Yeah, so giving them that extra help is going to really make the band tight. And anybody who's listening is going to be really impressed. Even if you think, well, that's a super easy baby fill. Ba 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 da 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 da. That's the point. It needs to be a super easy baby fill, because then even if you're not a drummer, you still are. You're perfectly sure of where you are.
Okay, this is the end.
Yeah. Yep. And then what'll happen if you play with the same band for long enough is they'll learn to recognize, like. Because you don't have to do the same one every time, right? If you had multiple solos over a concert, you could have a different one every time. But they'll learn to recognize that they can kind of relax during a solo because you got them. You're going to bring them back in, and they don't have to be like worried about where to come back in because you got them, you know? And they'll really appreciate you for that. Yeah? They'll go, oh, we really like to play with Zane, you know? Because it happens. I've played in jazz bands where I'm swapping with 2 drummers and me and somebody else, and some people liked him better, some people liked me better because of the way that I did things or the way that he did things. So you want to try to be, you know, the best team player that you can be. Okay? So let's give it a shot. And here's the big thing. Do not worry about how good or bad the solo's coming out. Okay? Remember, this is totally, you're having to create off the cuff, and sometimes, even if you're really good at it, even if you've done it a million times, you might not like the solo that comes out. The solo that I played for you, I didn't like how it came out. If I had played that in a jazz band with other people, like, that I was, you know, at my level, I would have been kind of embarrassed with that solo. So, it doesn't always come out the best, right? So, that's got to be okay. We're not going to freak out over that, yeah?
Yep.
All right. Back you up. I'll give you more. I didn't really give myself enough time either. I'm going to give you a little extra time. So I'll give you like this bottom line. Okay, you've got plenty of time to think about it. So, see how it's actually fairly tricky to hang on to exactly where you are, right? Especially when you start to play stuff like that cool. It's easy to lose track of like where you are, right? So at first, it's helpful to be a little bit formulaic about it. That's part of what I like 3-5-4 for, because you can use 3 5 4 5 4 3 3 5 4 5 4 3 3 4 5 4 5 4 3 dot 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 whatever come out. Yeah? So this time through, let's try to simplify it even more. Let's try to make it just super simple. Let's let's pretend that we had somebody in here that doesn't really know drums or anything like that at all, and you were trying to show them something that you think you could play, right? Nice and easy. Nice and easy. So we'll save the really cool like slugger stuff. We'll save that for later, yeah? Try to make little 2-measure phrases and then come out of it here. Because that's what I'd really like to hear, is that on bar 7, do something like that. Perfect. That works just fine for me. Okay? So the big one. Keep track of your measures, but for right now, because we're not doing a longer solo, use less time and use more like solo stuff. Use more 3 5 4 and less just plain time. Okie doke? Good job for our first solo. I'm never sure how the first one's gonna go. Hello? So, how about before we put you under pressure with recording, try just playing an 8-bar solo just straight.
What?
So just play 8 measures. Ba 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 da 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 da. Boom.
Alright, sure.
Yep. So try to think of it as 3 chunks. 3 5 4 5 4 3. 3 times. And then, yeah? Give that a shot. No metronome, no music. Just go. You can. Not so bad, right? Again, you can do something a little bit different, or you can do the same. The other one, there was a little bit, the first one was a little bit shaky moving between your ideas, but that one was really clean. You were right in control of where you were in the solo the whole time. Did you feel that way? The second time around, you felt like you knew exactly where you were? Good, good. Let's do a couple more of those, and then let's try adding it back in with the music. That's good. We'll do 2 more times. So the last time, if I was the horn player, I knew where you were, and you were exactly correct. But if I was the horn player, I wouldn't necessarily know that your solo was coming to an end. Yeah. If I wasn't really good about counting my measures. But you did come out in exactly the right spot. Okay? Cool. All right, let's give it a shot with the music now. Not so bad, huh? Yeah? And then what'll happen is, once you feel like you can do it, and you have something that you can fall back on, and you're like, oh, I can do this. Like, worst case scenario, you know, someone gives you a solo that's way too big for you to handle, you can just break it into smaller pieces, right? If you can play an 8-bar solo, you can play a 12-bar solo. You can play, you know, yeah, 16-bar solo. You know, like whatever it looks like, you can just break them into smaller, you know, you can break them into chunks, right? So, and then what'll happen is the same as this. It's going to be really kind of timid and uncomfortable at first, but the more times you do it, you're going to get better at keeping track of where you are in your solos, and your solos will get bigger and more complicated, and you'll have other stuff that you can use. You can start to pull out that other pattern I just showed you and all kinds of stuff like that, and not get lost, because now you're kind of used to breaking things into little 2 or 4 bar phrases and keeping track of it that way. Yeah? Okay, cool. So I think when you're at home this week, that's probably what you should spend most of your time doing. So you don't have to necessarily start right before the solo like the way I did. If it would be more fun to play all the way into it, then fine, play all the way into it.
Yeah,
But-
I'm recording on Saturday though.
Oh, you are?
Not this song, but the other song, the MXPX one.
Chick Magnet.
Oh, okay. I think we still got like 10 minutes left. Do we need to go over that? Should we check in on that?
I haven't heard you play it in a while.
Okay.
Did you want to play it?
If you're recording it on Saturday, it's probably a good idea to hear it at least.
It was supposed to be today, but Oma took us to lunch.
I see. So is that pretty clear? So most of what I want you to do, and this is the kind of homework that should honestly be kind of fun, right? Because there's not really a lot of rules. It's really kind of just have fun and keep track of where you are. The only rules are don't get lost in your solo and make sure that the last 2 bars of your solo, you bring the band back in, right? Those are really the rules. However you want to change up your 3-5-4, you can do whatever you want. You can do them on the crash cymbals one time. You can do it on the hi-hat barks. You can do your 5-4, 5-4, 3-3. Well, as long as, you work it all out. Just bring the band back in and you're good to go. So these kinds of homework assignments are good for the kids that are like you, that are not really shy about creating.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the kids that want to have things written down, this is a lot harder. So like, well, I don't know what to play. Like, well, I'm giving you something to play. It's like, well, I need to know exactly what to play. I'm like, well, that's not the point. So, anyway, have fun with that this week. Okay?
All right.
And then kind of as this starts to really come together, we're going to start kind of bringing in some other charts. And it might be a little scary at first, just like anything else, but you're going to hear it. You're going to figure out how it all works on the paper. And then you'll either decide, ooh, I really like this song, or I don't really like that one as much, which is okay, as long as you can play it. Yeah? All right, cool. Let's check out this other one, and then we'll be done for the day. Who was the song by?
MXPX.
Okay, so that's this one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Old-
ready? one little hiccup, but you recovered real quick, which is great. Great. Cool. So a couple things. I liked how smooth you were flowing back and forth. There's all those transitions. You're over on the hat, then you're over on the ride, then you're over on the hat, you're over on the ride. And so you're doing all that. You're moving around a lot. Your fills that you were using are pretty much what is in the recording. Like I don't know that you were missing anything that the recording was doing, which is also really cool. You had one in particular where you split the cymbals between both hands, and I thought not only did that visually look pretty cool, but sonically I thought it was nice because it was this crash and that one. So I thought that was neat too. I think if I were to get nitpicky, it would be to watch out for your swing note. So sometimes when you're really going crazy, do da da do da da do da da do, that one, that extra snare before the bass, that one has a tendency to
It goes.
So all I'm saying is sometimes it was really tight, and other times it was really open, and so it would kind of slosh in between there. So it's important. Do you remember that exercise we did a long time ago where we did no fills, no transitions, no anything at all, and we just set a timer and tried to play a groove as perfect as possible for an extended period of time? You remember doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Probably also a good idea to do that. Today is Thursday and you record on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a good idea to do it one time today and one time tomorrow.
Well,
just for a bit.
yeah,
2 minutes.
2 minutes each time.
Today, I was looking forward to going home and eating, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's 2 minutes?
Basically half the time before bed.
2 minutes is half the time before bed?
It's the time it takes you to brush your teeth, dude.
Exactly.
Tell you what, Dad'll even go in there with you. Won't you, Dad?
Heck yeah. I like
yeah.
this song.
You don't even get to
2 minutes.
take
Just
anything.
do da da do da da do da da do da, and think about everything. Think about how much you're sloshing the hat. Is it a lot? Is it a little bit? Is it kind of in the middle? Do you want to add more? Do you want to add less? Do you want it to be the same the whole time, or do you want it to kind of slosh a little bit more sometimes, or a little bit less sometimes? Think about your bass drum. Do you want all your bass drums to be the same volume, or do you want do da da do da da doom da da doom? You want a softer one and a louder one? What do you want? And then choose, make a choice, and then play it and really grind it so that it sounds as perfect as you can make it. That's the kind of stuff that really turns somebody into like a studio pro, is someone who can be very deliberate with those kinds of choices and can repeat them over and over and over again and be consistent with them. Yeah? So that's kind of an advanced concept. That's not really something that I'm working with most other... I pretty much have those kinds of conversations with you and Wyatt. That's pretty much it right now.
Really?
So, yeah.
Just me what?
Yeah, right now. Ryan just did another recording gig with Rachel like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And we were just making sure that he was able to play the song, that he knew all the parts, that he knew the transitions, he could count the bars, and that he could play it without a backing track in case she wanted to record it with only a metronome. So that was the kind of stuff we were working on with him. We weren't working about that 99 to 100%, like the A to A plus kind of thing, yeah?
So
So
it's like...
that's really what's going to make it like chef's kiss, yeah? Is if you can really lock in something that feels super tight and super groovy, yeah? Because the groove is what's going to make people want to dance. So if the groove is really good, even if the fills are kind of... Because I think these fills are pretty easy for you. I don't think there's any fills in here that are like really hard that you need to work on again and again and again, right?
It's just that groove
Yeah.
you want me to work on?
Yeah.
Got it.
So that groove, the tighter you can make that groove, the better the recording's going to be. Okie doke?
Okay.
All right. Sweet. Good job, dude.